Alright, in this lesson we are going to work on doing operations with positive and negative numbers. So again, we're going to start really basic and keep building off of this so that by the end we'll be doing more complicated problems and they will seem easy. Alright, so for adding and subtracting we're going to talk about the following rules. We'll talk about the same sign rule, the mixed sign rule, grouping, and the neighbor sign rule. So starting with the same sign rule. When you have two numbers with the same sign, you add the numbers and you just keep the sign. So this one over here looks very easy. Positive 5 plus positive 4 is going to be positive 9. Same thing with negatives though. So if you have a negative 5 and a negative 4, you're going to get negative 9. And we can think of that as negative 5 plus negative 4 equals negative 9. If you have 5 negatives and you add another 4 negatives, then altogether you have 9 negatives. So again, the same sign rule is saying that when both the numbers have the same sign, you just add the numbers together and you keep the sign for what they have. Alright, what you're going to do now is you're going to pause the lesson, work through these problems, and then when you are ready to check your answers, just hit play and we'll go through the answers together. Alright, so going over these answers now, same sign, they're both positive, so we know our answer is going to have a positive answer, and 9 plus 5 is 14. Okay, these are both negative, so we know our answer is going to be negative. 6 negatives and 7 negatives is 13 negatives. These are all positives. We have 2 positives, 4 positives, and 7 positives. So 7 and 2 is 9, plus another 4 is 13. We have a positive 13. Here they're all negatives. Our answer is going to be negative. We have 10 negatives and 18 negatives. And here they're all negatives. So we know our answer is going to be negative, and we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So our answer is negative 5. Alright, the mixed sign rule. When the numbers each have a different sign, use the sign of the number that appears larger. Then subtract the two numbers and keep that number sign. Alright, so let's look at what that's saying here. Here, this is called the mixed sign because we have one positive sign and one negative sign. So when the two numbers have different signs, what you're going to do is you're going to think of whatever the larger number is first. We're going to put the 8 first, and then we're going to take away 3. 8 take away 3 is 5. And because we have more negatives here, our answer is going to be negative 5. So again, let's look at that. So we have positive 3 take away 8. It's a mixed sign rule because we have a positive sign and a negative sign. So we have two different signs there. We have more negatives, so we know our answer is going to be negative when we combine these. And 8 take away 3 is 5, so our answer is going to be negative 5. I just want to take a minute with this to make sure it makes sense to everybody. If we think of it too, we have 3 positives, so I'll just do that right here. We have 3 positives and we have 8 negatives. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Every time we have a positive and a negative, if you think like a positive 1 and a negative 1, they get 0 when you combine them. So these guys all cancel each other out, and we're left with the 5 negatives. So it makes sense here. If we're putting these two things together, we have more negatives, so there's going to be negatives left over, so we know our answer is going to be negative. How many more negatives are we going to have? We'll have 5 more negatives. Alright, let's look at the next example here. Here we have 8 positives and 3 negatives. So we have more positives. How many more positives? Well, 8 take away 3 is 5. And using the strategy of take the sign of the larger number that you have, so we have more positives, so our answer will be positive. And we're going to do 8 take away 3, which is 5. And this is just a really easy problem anyway. 8 take away 3 is 5. You guys know that. Over here, we have more positives. How many more positives? Well, 8 take away 3 is 5. Here we have more negatives, and 8 take away 3 is 5. So the answer is going to be negative 5. Alright, so here's some practice problems for you doing the mixed sign rule. Pause the lesson, work through these problems, and then hit play when you're ready to check your work. Alright, so for A, we have more negatives, and in the parentheses we're going to think 11 take away 4, and 11 take away 4 is 7. So our answer is going to be negative 7. So thinking about that again, we have more negatives, so our answer is negative. How many more negatives? 7. So if we think of our positives and our negatives canceling out, we're going to get 4 of those negatives canceled out because we have 4 positives here, and we'll still have 7 negatives left. For B, we have more positives. How many more positives? Well, 9 take away 3 is 6. So our answer is positive 6. Here we have more positives. How many more positives? Well, 13 take away 5 is 8. So we have positive 8 for an answer. Here we have more negatives, so our answer is going to be negative. How many more? Well, 17 take away 6 is 11, so it's negative 11. Here we have more positives, so our answer will be positive. How many more? Well, 40 take away 30 is 10, so our answer is positive 10. Alright, what if you have more than 2 terms? Alright, so if we have more than 2 terms, and we see here we have a whole bunch of them, we're going to group the positives and the negatives together. So here we have a positive, and a positive. So we'll put all our positives together, and then we'll put all our negatives together. Remember, we talked about when you're adding, you can put, it doesn't matter the order that you put them in. Alright, so here, now that we've grouped them together, we're going to use the same sign rule to each group. So we'll use the same sign rule for this group. We have 17, 18, 19. So we have 19 positives. And here we have 17, 18, 19, 20, 21. We have 21 negatives. Now we're going to use the mixed sign rule to see what the answer is when we put those together. So we have more negatives. How many more negatives? Well, 21 take away 19 is 2. So our answer is negative 2. So what we just did there is group, same sign, mixed sign. So we're going to remember GSM. We're going to group the same signs. We're going to group the terms together that have positives and the ones together that have negatives. We'll use the same sign rule, and then we're going, at the end when we have the 2 mixed signs, we use the mixed sign rule. Alright, so you're going to practice that right now. You're going to practice with multiple terms using GSM. That's group the signs together, use the same sign, and then you're going to use the mixed sign. Alright, so pause the lesson, try A through E, and then hit play when you're ready to check your answers. Alright, so the first one for A, we're going to rewrite this. So we have positives together and negatives together. So we have a positive 6 and a positive 4. We have a negative 3 and a negative 9. So we grouped them. Now we're going to do the same sign. This is positive 10 and this is negative 12. Now we'll do the mixed sign. We have more negatives, and 12 take away 10 is 2, so it's going to be negative 2. Alright, for this one, the first thing we do is group the signs together. So we have positive 2, positive 15, negative 11, negative 4. Now we're going to use the same sign rule. So this is positive 17, and this one is negative 15. Now we use the mixed sign rule. I have more positives. How many more positives do I have? 2. All right, for C, we're going to group the signs together. We have positive 3, positive 1, negative 1, negative 3, and negative 5. So now we use the same sign rule. We have 4 positives and 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. We have 9 negatives. Now we use the mixed sign rule. I have more negatives. How many more? 9 take away 4 is 5. Answer is negative 5 for that one. For D, let's rewrite this, grouping positives and negatives together. So we have positive 7, positive 26, negative 6, negative 9, negative 14, and negative 32. All right, now let's add 26 plus 7 is 33. And over here, let's add our negatives. We have negative 20 plus negative 32, that would be negative 52, and then plus another 9, 61. So we have minus 61. All right, so now we think, so I'm just going to put over here so we have more room. So we have positive 33, take away 61. We have more negatives, and how many more negatives do we have? Well, we're going to do 61 take away 33, and we have 28, so our answer is negative 28. All right, and for E, we have positive 38, positive 14, positive 12, and positive 85. We have negative 67, negative 29, and negative 41. So let's add all of our positives together. So we're doing 38, 14, 12, and 85. So we have 10, 15, 19, 10, 13, 14. So we have 149 positives. And then for our negatives, we have 67, 29, and 41. So we have 10, 17, 10, 12, 13. So we have 149 and negative 137. So we have more positives. Our answer is going to be positive. And 149 take away 137 is 12. All right, neighbor sign rule. All right, so for this one, this is a rule you use when you see it like this. There's a positive and a negative right next to each other, or it could be the same signs. But if you have two operations right next to each other, what you're going to do is think about this. If you have a positive and a negative, that means you are getting something negative. That is negative. If you get something bad or you get something negative, it's negative. So if you have a positive and a negative like that, you're going to keep the negative sign. Here, if you're taking away something positive, that is not good. If you're taking away or losing something positive, that's bad. So we're going to keep the negative sign. Getting something good or getting something positive is positive. So if you have two plus signs, we're going to keep the plus sign. Taking away something negative is good, it's positive, so that will become a plus sign. An easy way to remember this is if you're adding and you have two different signs, you're going to keep the negative. If you have two same signs, it will be positive. So again, if the signs are different, when you're adding and subtracting, the neighbor sign rule, you're going to keep the negative sign. If the signs are the same, you keep the positive sign. All right, so let's try it here. Signs are different, so we're going to use the negative sign. 9 take away 4 is 5. Signs are different, so we're going to keep the negative sign. 9 take away 4 is 5. Signs are the same, So we're just going to do 9 plus 4, which is 13. Signs are the same. We'll change that to 9 plus 4, which is 13. What I'd like you to do right now is try these, so pause the lesson and work through these, and then hit play when you are ready to check your answers. Alright, so for A, we have two negative signs, so we're going to change it to a positive. 13 plus 4 is 17. Here we have two different signs, so we're going to use the negative. So we have 17 take away 8, which is 9. Here we have two different signs, so we're going to keep the negative. 2 take away 6. Now this is like a mixed sign problem. So we have two positives and 6 negatives, so we have more negatives. How many more negatives? 4. Here we have two signs that are the same, so we're keeping the plus sign. 3 plus 9 is 12. Here the signs are different. We're going to keep the negative sign, so we have 5 take away 11. And let's think about mixed signs. So we have 5 positive, 11 negative. We're going to have negatives left over. 11 take away 5 is 6. Alright, what I'd like you to do is some more practice. Go ahead through these and do these practice problems. Hit play when you're ready to check your answers. Alright, so for the first one here, we have neighbor sign rule that we're going to apply. We have two different signs there, so we're going to keep the minus sign. So 6 take away 3 is 3. Here, positive 6, positive 3, same sign rule, that's 9. Here we have mixed sign rule. We have more positives. How many more positives? 3. Here, neighbor sign rule, the signs are different. We're going to keep the minus sign, so we're doing 3 take away 6. Now we can think of the mixed sign rule. We have more negatives here, so our answer is going to be negative. How many more negatives do we have? 3. For this one, we have more negatives. How many? We have 4 more negatives. Here, neighbor sign rule, that's going to change to a plus. We have 11 plus 7, which is 18. Here, same sign rule. We have 7 negatives and 11 negatives, so altogether we have 18 negatives. Here, mixed sign rule, we have more positives. How many more positives? 11 take away 7 is 4. Alright, so let's apply all three at once. Same, mixed, and neighbor. So if you're doing this, you have a whole thing like this you are doing, you're going to do the neighbor sign rule first. Get rid of any of the ones that have 2 right next to each other. And I think that's kind of easy to remember because that just doesn't look right. So you want to get rid of all those double signs that you have. Then you're going to do your GSM. You're going to group the positives and negatives together. Use the same sign rule for the group of positives and for the group of negatives, and use the mixed sign rule to finish that up. Alright, so for the right here, what we're going to do next, let's just go through this. Let's get rid of the ones that have 2 right next to each other. Let's use the neighbor sign rule. So we're going to have negative 3, and we're going to keep the plus sign. And in the last one, we're going to keep the minus sign, because remember when the signs are different, we use the minus. Alright, then we're going to group. We're going to group the positives and negatives together. So we have positive 7, positive 4, negative 3, negative 6, negative 9. This is going to be positive 11. Here we have negative 9 and negative 9. We have negative 18. Alright, now we're going to use the mixed sign rule. We have more positives. We have more negatives. How many more negatives? Well, 18 take away 11 is 7. So our answer is going to be negative 7. Alright, so you're going to do the same thing. So remember the steps. You're going to do the neighbor sign rule, get rid of any of the double signs, group the positives and negatives together, use the same sign rule, and then the mixed sign rule. Alright, so go ahead and work through these, and then hit play when you're ready to check your answers. Alright, so neighbor sign rule for A here. So we're going to do -2, change that to a plus, +3, because the signs are the same, we're going to change it to a positive. Here the signs are different, so we're going to use the negative, and then take away 10. Let's group our positives. There's only one there. Then we have -2, -4, -10. Alright, now we're going to use the same sign rule. So we have +3. Here we have -16. And now we're going to use the mixed sign rule. We have more negatives. How many more? 16 take away 3 is 13. So our answer is -13. Alright, for B, first let's get rid of those double signs. We'll use the neighbor sign rule. So we have 16 plus 5, take away 7, and now they're the same sign again, so we're going to go with positive. Alright, so we have 16 positive, 5 positive, 8 positive, and then take away 7. Now we are going to use the same sign rule. So 8 and 16 is 24, and 5 is 29. Take away 7. Now we have a mixed sign rule, or just what's 29 take away 7, and it's 22. Alright, for C, first neighbor sign rule. So let's get rid of all those double signs. So we have 21, take away 3, +2, +7. Now we're going to group positives and negatives together. We'll use the same sign rule. So we have 7 and 2 is 9, and 21 is 30. So we have 30 take away 3, and 30 take away 3 is 27. Alright, for D, first we're doing the neighbor sign rule. So we have 2 take away 31, take away 6, take away 4, +9. Then we're going to group positives and negatives together. We had them -31, -6, -4. Alright, so this is 11. Then we have takeaway. This is 10 plus 31 is 41. Now we have more negatives. How many more negatives? Well, 41 take away 11 is 30. Alright, for E, get rid of those double signs there. We're going to use the neighbor sign rule. And they are all negatives, so we can just add them all up. So we have 10 and 17, so 10 plus 17 is 27. Our answer is -27. Alright, now we're going to get into the multiplication and division. So for the multiplication rule, if they have the same sign, the answer is positive. Different sign, answer is negative. And it's similar to that the neighbor sign rule. If it's the same sign, you're going to go with the positive. If the signs are different, you go with the negative. So here, +8 times +3, +24. -8 times -3. They have the same sign here, so we're going to switch it to positive, and it's +24. +8 times -3, different sign, so it's negative. -8 times +3, different sign, so it's negative. Alright, so try these problems, pause the lesson, and hit play when you're ready to check your answers. Alright, so 4 times 3 is 12, and the signs are different, so it's negative. 9 times 7 is 63. Signs are the same, so it's positive. 16 times 11, signs are the same, so it's positive, and it's 176. For D, signs are different, so it's negative. And 8 times 13, 8 times 10 is 80. 8 times 3 is 24. So we have 104. Here for E, the signs are different, so it's positive. Signs are the same, so it's positive. 17 times 5, well, we could think 10 times 5 and 7 times 5. So that's 50 and 35, so it's 85. Alright, so if you have more than two terms that you are multiplying, if the number of negative signs is even, it's going to be positive. If the number of negative signs is odd, it will stay negative. And let's look at that. So here we have three terms we're multiplying here. This is going to be positive, but now we have to multiply it times a negative, and a positive times a negative is negative. So you can see if there's an odd number of negatives, it doesn't have that partner to make it positive. For this one, these two, when you multiply, are going to be positive, and this one's positive, so our answer will be positive. Here, these guys can partner up, and we'll have a positive, but we still have one out here because it was an odd number of negatives, so our answer in the end here is going to be negative. So again, if you have a whole bunch of factors here that you're multiplying, if you have an even number of negative signs, that it'll end up being a positive answer. If you have an odd number of negative signs, it'll be a negative answer. Alright, so pause it and try these, and then hit play when you are ready to check your work. Alright, so that's going to be positive 20 times positive 2, which is 40. Alright, here we have positive 1, positive 1. 1 times 1 is 1, so our answer is positive 1. Alright, here 4 times 3 is 12, times 2 is 24, so we have positive 24, and we have a negative 1. So we only have one negative here. That's an odd number, so our answer is going to be negative. 1 times 24 is 24. Here, these two negative guys are going to get together, and that makes a positive. 3 times 2 is 6. So it's going to end up being positive 24. Here we have an odd number of negatives, so our answer is going to be negative. 8 times 3 is 24, times 2 is 48. Alright, division rule. If you're dividing two numbers with the same sign, your answer is going to be positive. Different signs is negative, so just like the division rule. I'm sorry, just like the multiplication rule. Same signs, positive. Same signs, this should be a positive 8. So 24 divided by 3 is 8. Negative 24 divided by negative 3 is going to be positive 8. So if you have the same sign, it's going to be a positive answer. Different signs, you're going to get a negative answer. 24 divided by negative 3 is negative 8, and negative 24 divided by positive 3 is negative 8. Alright, so try these problems. Pause the lesson, hit play when you're ready to check. Alright, so for A, we have two different signs, so the answer is going to be negative, and 15 divided by 3 is 5. And I think you guys know this, that when you see the fraction like that, 15 divided by negative 3, that's the same as 15 divided by negative 3. So fractions are really division problems. You could see the division problem like that, or you could just see it with that backslash. Or if it's a fraction, it might even just look like something up here and down here. Alright, so 15 divided by negative 3 is negative 5. Alright, here the signs are the same, so the answer is going to be positive. So we have 8 divided by 20, and 8 is smaller than 20, so this is just going to be a fraction for an answer, but we can simplify it. We can divide these both by 4. So we have 2, 20 divided by 4 is 5. Alright, here both the signs are positive, the answer will be positive, or because they're both the same. 63 divided by 7 is 9. Here the signs are different, so our answer is going to be negative. 36 divided by 9 is 4. Here the signs are different, so it's going to be negative. And again, 7's smaller than 28, so we have to just simplify this. They're both divisible by 7. So it's going to be negative 1/4.